Welcome to the Rustic Garden Homestead. Today I'm going to show you how to set up these two beds for planting tomatoes. You can do the same setup for eggplant, for peppers if you want. I've shown you many ways to prep your beds in the fall, again in the spring. Sometimes we don't get the chance to really set the beds up like that, whatever, life gets in the way, like it does for all of us. Your bed may look something like this. Last year I grew tomatoes in here. I can actually see some tomatoes popping up. Those are from seeds that were left behind. So the first thing we want to do, this bed is just sat here all year. We're going to weed it out, both sides, and then we'll progress from there. And it'll just be a matter of putting down some fertilizers, some compost, setting it up. The key with tomato plants is they send out tons of surface roots to pull in moisture and fertilizer, so we don't have to worry about going down really deep. So this bed's not going to get turned over, just going to get cleaned up, set up, so that as these plants grow, they'll send roots down deeper. I have plenty of nutrients down further in my soil, but I'll have what they need along the surface. Rain, watering, will wash it into the surface. They'll be fed perfectly for the season. There's a couple of things going on that really give me the message that it's time to get these beds set up. And again, you can do a lot in the fall, you can do a lot early spring. Even if you're behind, you have plenty of time. So this is really a no-dig style. This bed has been prepped and taken care of over the years, and the nutrients are just going to go on the top. And basically, we're not going to turn every part of this garden. There's just no need for it. We're going to put down the good stuff. Earthworms and such, rain, watering, will pull the nutrients into the ground. So what I'm looking for right now is this. These are seeds that fell last year, and these are tomato plants, and they're getting the message from nature that the top 6 inches of the soil or so is warm enough to germinate. Warm temperatures are coming, and that's really a message to me to get my beds ready. Also mixed in here, there are, oh, here it is. Let me come down slowly. That's a sunflower that has sprouted. I'm going to leave that there just because I like how it looks throughout my garden to have these sunflower seeds randomly scattered throughout. So I know the bed's ready. Basically, hand remove the weeds, didn't really worry about the roots. If I try and get into here, you can see that the soil's pretty hard. When we go to planting, and these guys are just coming out of my house, they need to get acclimated over the next 7 days. I'm just going to dig a hole here. If you want to subscribe and follow me, I'll show you how I plant by simply prepping a hole nicely, putting in a transplant, letting it go. I don't have to dig and turn this entire garden. What I like to use, we have fireplace in a fire pit. This is just wood ash. It's full of potassium and nutrients. It's very high in alkalinity. Oh, look at that, a spring, which means that it can change your pH if you overuse it. If you're putting handfuls into the planting hole, that's problematic. That's going to influence the pH of your soil, can affect your plants. All we're doing is gently scattering some potash across the soil, just like that. I'll do that all the way down, and then I'm going to put the compost on. That much wood ash isn't going to change your pH of the soil. It has to go down and mix with everything. You're just not putting enough in there for you to over worry about it. Don't put in big clumps, lightly sprinkle it across, and you know you're going to have calcium and potassium for sure in your garden for your tomato plants. All right, let me finish this up. We'll get to putting down the compost. Now the weeds in this bed are some sort of thistle. They have these long tap roots, and if you just break the top of the plant off, it's going to grow back. These are also mining nutrients out of your soil. They put that long tap root down and they're pulling up all the good stuff. So I'm actually going to drop these on top of the prepped bed at the end and just let them break down, and they will give back anything they're pulling out of the garden. In the other bed that's across the way, they were mostly annual weeds, some dandelions. I just pulled the tops off of them. When I cover that up, set it up, most of those weeds will be taken care of. But for the thistle, or these long tap roots, you have to really dig up the soil. And in fact, this one was against the board there, so I cut off the stem. But that's basically what you need to do. You really need to dig down, pop it up, and remove most of the roots. So let me finish that up. This bed is pretty much cleared out. You can see that the soil looks really, really nice. When I first came here, lots of red clay. I had to dig and turn this, really amend it, and then after 2 or 3 years, I kind of just left it as is. I put all my resources into a planting hole. So this bed wasn't for me, it wasn't a place where I was direct seeding. I was putting in transplants. And again, if you subscribe and follow me, I'll show you how I do the planting hole. That's a way to save money. You're just putting all your resources right into the space where the plants are going to go. Compost, this old shredded hardwood, breaks down, feeds the rest of the soil. Slow and steady. You don't need perfect soil to start. Build it over 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. Just keep adding organic matter. A bonus that I got out of here was a blackberry plant that's going to sit in a shady area this year, just established. These are muscadines. I found that vine, which is cool. And here is another muscadine vine that is going to go into a pot. And that saves me a little bit of money, because if I was buying mature plants, that's like that's almost $36 if you were going to go buy them. So that's pretty cool. Going to set this up the same way, put some of the wood ash across the top here, and then we'll get to the mulch. Sometimes you might not be sure whether or not you have something growing that's worthwhile. This is my muscadine vine. This is the one that I found, same exact leaves, so I know that this will turn into a beautiful muscadine vine. You might notice as we're going along, I'm leaving leaves, hardwood mulch, whatever's on the surface is fine. That's not going to impact your transplants that are going into the ground, because the transplants go below the soil surface, the roots go into the earth. Anything on top is just going to act as a mulch, decay over time. It'll do good things for your garden, but it's not going to impact your plants. Now, this is any organic granular fertilizer. It's a dry fertilizer, will slowly feed over time. This is a 5-3-3 NP and K. Get whatever bag is on sale, as long as it has NP and K represented. If you have a lot of compost, you don't really need to use this at all. We would just put down a good inch or so of compost, but sometimes compost comes at a premium. It's hard to find, it's hard to get. I'm going to do a combination of both just so that you can see. So, number one, if we're putting down 1 inch, 2 inches of compost, we just put it across the soil surface, let it be, walk away, it's free, we made it ourselves. If you don't have a lot of compost, maybe a light sprinkling of the organic granular fertilizer, and then you put down a 1/2 inch of compost on there, let it, you know, do its thing. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put down maybe 1/2 inch of some leaf grow product. If you don't have compost at all, heavier handed, right across the top. You could do something like that, or even a little bit more. The mulch is going to go on last. We're going to mulch the bed now. We're not even going to have to worry about it come, you know, the rest of the spring and the summer. We'll just move it out of the way, put our plant in. So a layer of organic granular, if you want to put it on there, and then some compost. And it will vary based on what resources you have available. And what I'm trying to present are principles, because every garden is different, our budgets, our resources are different. This is a bed setup. Squash, zucchini are going to go in there. It's leaves, cardboard, and grass. You can use grass clippings as a mulch. Today I'm going to use shredded hardwood. That's the start of a bed that's being covered to kill off the weeds, and then I'm going to be putting something on top of there. This one is grass, cardboard, and leaves. You can use the same exact setup for what we're doing today. This is pretty much what we're going to get to. That's the shredded hardwood on there. So on this side, I put down a bag of leaf grow. I bought it. It was about $6, maybe $7. No, actually, I know it was $6. If you can find a quality compost or manure, putting down at least 1 bag and spreading it across is great. That's not even 1/4 inch on there. You just want to kind of understand that adding even a little bit compost manures each year helps build your soil. On top of there, we're going to put the shredded hardwood. This bed will be ready. Here's an example of how much I got. I think this is maybe 2 cubic feet, but that's the leaf grow. That's going to be spread across there. Then we're going to put down the hardwood mulch. Let me show you what I'm using in the future videos on setting up the planting holes. This is compost that I've been making for a couple of years. And again, if you have a ton of it, just use this all over your garden. This is going to go into the planting hole. And this year I'm going to be doing kind of like a 10 inch by 12 inch space across, 10 inches deep. That's going to be the planting hole setup for most of your summer crops, your warm weather crops that you're putting in as transplants. So I'll be mixing in my leaf grow, leaf mold, and then this is my compost that's going to get mixed in there too. So I'm conserving the resources I have, putting it right into the base of the plant, and then I'll do a top dressing and other things over the season. But you don't have to you know, cover your beds with 2 inches of compost. It's beautiful if you can, but again, principles, slow and steady builds the garden. The beds are pretty much done. I have to finish the other side. This one has maybe 1/2 inch of shredded hardwood. If you can't find that, I like the shredded hardwood because it's much finer and it breaks down more quickly, gives back to the earth. Big wood chips are going to last years. You don't want that. You could use grass clippings, you could use hay, straw, whatever you want to use, leaves. There's a lot of different ways. What I like about this is I have the wood ash, light layer, organic granular if you need it, maybe 1/4 inch or so of compost spread across the top, and then I have mulch. And then on top of here, pulled out the weeds with the long tap roots. Composting is really about taking plants. You let them kind of mine the nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and other nutrients out of the ground. We kind of decay them down. We give them back to the plants. So I'm going to let this sit on here. I won't be planting in here for about a week. Let these dry out. And these weeds will give back to the plants probably next year. They got to break down for a while, and soil biology, worms have to do their thing. But use your resources, build a great planting area, and please subscribe. I'll show you how I put the tomato plants into here. And you know, this is it. I just want to stress, you don't have to follow a perfect plan to grow a garden. Just follow these principles, set up your soil, enjoy yourself, and you're going to have a wonderful garden. Thanks for watching. Please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com, and thanks for watching.